got to be one of my favourite instruments, the harmonium. It can bring, a simplicity to music, dare I say it, quaintness, but because of its timbral complexities, it's also massively expressive. So alongside taking you through this VAULTS that we've released, and if you're not familiar to VAULTS, they're a series of free instruments we put out, and they sit there free for 6 months before disappearing, and then 6 months later you can buy them. And the income we use from those purchases goes to a music charity. All of the details of this linked in the video description down below. So you've got me this month as Theo's on a very well-deserved holiday. But I thought this would be also a good opportunity to talk about the mistake I see people making when using instruments that are derived from bellows. With strings, brass and woodwind, you have the ability to change the timbre, which can be the volume, but also the brightness, the brashness. With strings, you can change all sorts of things after you've started playing the note. And with keyboards and samples, there seems to be once it's triggered, you're kind of off to the races, that's it, done. It just isn't the case. And if you listen to stuff that's made with bellows, whether it be an accordion or an organ, even if it's a Hammond organ, or indeed a harmonium, you'll hear when they're being played, there's all sorts of timbral differences that are used after a note is played to make the instrument more progressive. If you play it without using these expressive features, it sounds a bit, a bit bon-tempi. Whereas if you start using, say, for example, we've got this timbral control here, and then I'm using expression. So this is CC1, usually assigned to your modulation wheel, CC11. Every time I make a video about using controllers, there's knobs that you can use on keyboards and stuff, but this is a Lugin, it's Australian. And there's also a Scottish company that makes an excellent solution, Ghost Note Audio. I'm not sponsored by these guys, but they did send me these for free. So it seems remiss of me not to recommend looking into these small independent companies for these solutions, which are excellent. So where was I? Suddenly it comes to life, and if you're using something like a Hammond organ sound or VST, I really recommend trying to see if there are timbral controls, but at the very least just a bit of MIDI expression, which is ostensibly volume. You just hear it sounding bellowy. In addition to the expression and the timbre that we've got here, you just hear it just brings out some of the upper harmonics. We've also got a selection of different recordings which again have those different harmonic layers, and you activate those with velocity on this VAULTS instrument. So quiet, has a more innocent feel, has a more churchy feel. So what is a harmonium?
The harmonium as we know it today was patented in Paris in 1842 by Alexandre Despons. Smaller and lighter than the grand organs that came before, Despons' invention quickly found its place across Europe. In its design, air is pumped through bellows, and pressing a key opens a valve that allows the air to vibrate a thin metal reed. That vibration resonates through the wooden body, producing the instrument's distinctive tone. Unlike pianos, harmoniums were far less affected by heat and humidity, which helped them travel across Western colonies in Africa and Asia, where they were soon woven into local musical traditions and adapted into smaller, more portable instruments. Over time, the harmonium has become a symbol of heritage in Indian and Pakistani art, literature, and cinema, maintaining its cultural resonance around the world.
It's interesting. I'm so privileged to have visited so many studios, and certainly where the UK is concerned, the minute you go kind of north of Birmingham, Harmoniums just start popping up into the corner of these studios, left, right, and centre. And I think that the further north you go, certainly UK, the less inclined families were to buy pianos and lent more towards the slightly churchier harmoniums. And when you go to places like Iceland, you literally can't open studio doors for harmoniums. It's as if every family had one at some point. This particular harmonium is owned and was performed by Donald Shaw, who is a local hero up here in Scotland, is one of the key figures behind the biggest Celtic folk festival on the planet, Celtic Connections, which happens in Glasgow every January. Book your tickets. It is an amazing experience. Recorded at Castle Sound Studios, one of my top 5 studios to record in on the planet, and produced by Stuart Hamilton, who is the kind of, I describe him as the chef proprietor at that studio. If you ever want to get some amazing acoustic recordings, you wouldn't believe how affordable Stuart and Castle Sound is. I'll link him in the video description down below. I love the innocence of the harmonium, and this particular instrument, I'm not allowed to talk about who was the former owner. We just haven't quite got permission to say it out loud, but we're nearly there. And once we are given permission, we'll do more of a deep dive into this particular instrument and the person who used to own this. And just by happen chance, there's a mad coincidence that there is a personal connection to this harmonium as well through this previous owner. But that's a story for another time. Let me take you through what this VAULTS is all about. So we've got our harmonium. So let's stick the expression up full. We've got the different timbral stuff that you can do with modulation. So you can hear those upper harmonics coming through. And then you've got the different dynamic layers with velocity. So let's get the timbre up full, soft, loud. And again, you can pull the timbre down with that, which just takes the edge off the upper harmonics there. So in addition to timbre, the middle dial here goes from the close mics to more of the room in Castle Sound. We have squeeze, which is a bus compressor. And then we have a 4-stage chorus. So obviously up full it's quite extreme, but just a tad, for me, just adds a little bit more emotive content. Now, a little tip from me, if you're planning to put a bucket load of splosh on reverb, like I always do, the more diffuse the signal, the more believable that reverb will be if you want to give it a real sense of space. I don't know the science behind it, but if you take something that's very proximate and put reverb on, it sounds like something with an effect. If you widen or diffuse the signal so you can't position it so close to you, it seems to sit happier within whatever space you chuck at it. So we have some splosh here, which is reverb. Let me just run it dry and see what you think. So this is the really up close mics. And And then let's add some splosh. So it sounds to me that you are either adding a tail to something that's recorded close, or you're sitting really close to something and then you're hearing the rest of the room that's played in, which makes you feel like you're playing the instrument but not the audience. So I'm just going to go 100% room mics and then add splosh to that, similar amount. Just believe it more. So for me, it goes from being there with a load of reverb behind it, like you're kind of it's sitting in front of you, in front of a corridor, to actually putting it in the space. And then we've also put a bit of echo in there as well, if you just want to go really produced on it. Bit of chorus. Harmonium, which you can find on VAULTS at thecrowhillcompany.com. The VAULTS offerings are very much the tip of the iceberg of stuff that we're producing to encourage and inspire people to make music their music. So make sure whilst you're there, hop along to the hub and have a look at all of the different things that we've got going on and the resources we're making for you to have for free. Some opportunities, and I don't know, just like to encourage people to make music, to make sound, to make noise, and to make friends. Crow Hill Company.